Greetings, geeks. Welcome to episode 535 of Geeks in Space. I am Rob Commander Taco Malda, and joining to me is a all right, words. I fail them. It's Rob Roseboom, Chris DeBona. I didn't sleep well last night.
I haven't been sleeping well all week, so I'm there with you, brother.
Yeah.
It was a late night last night. Let's see. But I was saying this to Kathleen. So we had a campfire last night, and I burnt the last of the wood from my trunk. And Rob, the wood that was in my trunk was put in there the last campfire of last year.
Nice and dry.
Yeah, so it was.
Was that
dry.
when I was over and we went over to Uriah's?
No, that was still, I think, in 2020, because you came out in like January.
Did I?
Well,
I don't even know. This whole year is a freaking blur.
The only reason I knew it was because I got it the week before we went on the annual North trip, which is next weekend.
Right.
So I know, I knew how much, I knew how long it had been there. It's very old, very dry wood, and I'm glad to have it out of my trunk because there were ants crawling around in my car.
Yeah. And they were probably like wood carpenter ants. Is the North trip happening due to COVID? I couldn't
Not for some
follow.
of us.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's where I thought it was.
Yeah.
So speaking of things left in cars that don't move too much, my wife took her car in for its a little overdue oil change at like 60,000 miles or something. There was a rat living in the car.
Oh, gross.
Oh no.
Yeah. She hadn't done anything to any of the wires of the Prius, because apparently Prius wires are extra tasty. Who knew? And this is a known problem, but yeah, it's so they cleared. I have to tell you, I love the people who work on our cars out here. If you're in the California orbital area, in Palo Alto, Helmings, you can trust them. They don't rip you off. They always do a great job. So
had it like crawled into her air filter or something? Set up camp in there?
No. Yeah, all I know, it was in the engine cavity area. And remember, a Prius engine cavity is kind of a mess of wires and like a teeny engine and all the rest.
Yeah, so she's lucky. Those rodents
really
love the stuff that coats those wires for some reason.
Delicious.
She's lucky, like there wasn't a fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with cooked rat.
So guys, did you know the president's password to Twitter?
Please tell me that's so. I've seen this bouncing around. I just figured it has to be a joke, right?
So to me, what's funny is not that his current password is MAGA 2020. It's that his previous password, which the same people figured out, was "you're fired."
Right. Yeah, I couldn't. I mean, I think that story is probably true. But I couldn't nail down 100% that it was.
Yeah.
It's true enough that most of the tech news sites are reporting it this morning. The Dutch newspaper reported it already, and the Secret Service, sort of verified that they were informed. So it's at least that true.
Okay, wait a second. I want to point out, it's not as bad as we think. He has an exclamation point.
Oh, that's true.
Right.
Right. So who knows? It's probably something crazy like "you're divorced!" exclamation mark now, or I don't know, something like that.
No, he just went back
probably
to
like
fired.
No, you change it to Sleepy Joe or
Don Jr. 2024.
Yeah. Or COVID immune. Right, that's what he always talks about. How he's immune to it now.
I'm immune. So Screw all y'all.
Watch me drink my
water. So strong.
Big hands. That's what it is. It's big hands.
Huge.
Big hands.
Huge.
Big hands 2024.
Big hands won.
If you think about it, the wide angles on these things and the differing depths can make your hands look enormous. You'd think that he'd be all into like zooming into everything, right?
It's true. It's easier to intimidate. But you don't control the mute.
That was something last night.
So
It wasn't as dramatic, but it was something.
I actually heard way more of this debate because it was on in the NPR when I was driving home last night, and I didn't hear. I literally didn't see any of the last debate, and I mean, like I heard clips from the last one, like which was presumably the worst of the interruption soup, but this at least was bad.
Pretty okay, actually.
It was bad, but it wasn't like you are two old men talking at the same time for an hour. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah. I agree with you.
As far as dumpster fires go, this one really wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing
We've seen way worse.
What kind of made me sad is that like in the middle, like I could understand if you believed this guy, that you would believe what he like that he would nothing that he said would change your mind. He was saying exactly the things, like nobody was going to be convinced either way by anything that Trump was saying, because he didn't do anything so stupid to alienate his base, and he didn't do anything so smart to change anybody's mind.
Yeah. For me, his highlight was last night when they started talking about the over 500 children who will never find their parents again, or at least will have a hard time doing it. He said they are very well taken care of.
Yep. Those are the best kidnapped children. Yeah. You have never seen more comfortable kidnapped children.
Right.
I'm picturing like a Disney movie, you know, where Donald Trump is taking care of 500 largely Mexican children. And it's like, nope, this never turns out well. He's not the hero in that story.
499 of us was enough.
Talk about being tone deaf. My God.
No, but see, that's the thing is his base doesn't actually care. His base thinks that
he's not talking to us, you know?
No, his base thinks that separating those kids is good. So all he's doing is setting their mind at ease and telling, no, it's fine that we're doing this horrible thing, kidnapping children. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even worse than that, they were sending stuff out over social media earlier in the day that was no. Their parents didn't come and get them.
Yeah, they're abandoned.
Yeah,
you know, these kids were abandoned by their terrible Mexican.
They were taken here by. Dude, they were taken here by coyotes and drug dealers. You know, because that's exactly what someone running through the desert wants. They wants a bunch of little kids,
a bunch of babies.
Yeah. My God.
Because it's not hard enough going through the Sonoran Desert. You have to do it with like 4 toddlers in tow.
Right. Making sure they all hold hands so you don't lose them.
Yep.
Yeah. While you're at it, just take some wolves and some coyotes, actual coyotes with you, because those are easy to, and some kittens, you know, just have like a whole menagerie.
And don't forget, at the end of your journey, you have to climb over the border fence. I mean, the wall, the mighty wall.
Well, that just falls over nowadays. So, you know, you saw the one that basically fell over the Rio Grande. So if you're crossing the Rio Grande, instead of having like a big fence to climb over, you actually just use it as a bridge now.
Yeah, you got a bridge.
It's like user friendly, you know.
Well, that's nice.
So
land of opportunity.
Wow, Trump, that's something. Yeah.
So I didn't really know a lot about James Randi.
Man,
it was like I don't know how. Like, where was he like originally famous from? Because like I don't think I've really heard of him.
He was a magician.
But he was a magician who debunked magicians who were doing it with the air of the paranormal around them.
Probably his most famous was Uri Geller. He went on the Tonight Show and showed Uri Geller, the famous Israeli psychic, to be a fraud.
A complete fraud. It was wonderful.
What? Psychic?
Then later on, he hooked up with Penn and Teller, and they did a bunch of stuff together. Yeah. And he founded an organization that would offer, I can't remember exactly how much money it was. If you could prove that you had psychic ability, I think it was $1 million.
Yeah.
I'm getting my magic crystal, which is awesomely enough green. So I can... use it to penetrate right through.
So one of the things that I admit to shamelessly leveraging my Google affiliation for is I run a conference. It's aimed at the sciences, and so I will sometimes invite people just because I wanna. And one year I invited James Randi and he came, and it was so cool. like watching James Randi interact with like these Nobel Prize winners and these other folks, and I just got to hang around him. I'm like, I'm gonna hang around James Randi, and it was so cool. He was such a genuinely sweet guy, so
That's
anyway.
cool. I was a huge fan of the Penn and Teller bullshit, and I also really like the Penn and Teller. What's the Fool Me, where they do the magic tricks and people fool and try to figure out. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great,
But also, you might not be aware that I do not believe in magic of any way, shape, or form, and I find the belief in magic of any way, shape, or form to be preposterous, and so therefore I find people who debunk magic in any way, shape, or form to be heroes and awesome.
Well, so this is your guiding light. This is your North Star, because he both preserved the wonder of people who are extremely talented at sleight of hand and the rest, people like Penn and Teller, frankly, while taking the piss out of the people who are like, and now I will sell you my psychic ability.
Have you ever seen the Penn and
And
Teller
he would just
bit?
tear them apart. It was beautiful. Right?
Have you seen the Penn and Teller stage show in Vegas?
I have not. No.
They've done the bit, I think, on TV. Have you ever seen the bit where Teller's in the crate and they tell you it's sort of a story about the wonder of magic? And it's like, if you close your eyes, it's magic, and if you open your eyes, you'll see how we do it. I kept my eyes closed, so I still believe in the wonder of that scene. Anyway, it sounds like he was a heck of a dude. I'm sure I've seen him in things, but I didn't know him by name.
There's a bunch of videos on YouTube, and you should go check them out.
I'm gonna rabbit hole.
We did an interview with him at Slashdot. One of our first video interviews was with the amazing
cool.
Randy. He was a really nice guy.
Yeah.
All right, so I do have a question about the last Starfighter 2, which is, if there are more Starfighters than the last Starfighter, then does that not mean they have to change the name of the movie, of the first movie, if they find another Starfighter?
Well, no, maybe he was at one point the last Starfighter.
Yeah.
But then more showed up.
Yeah.
So the old title would be true. And the new might be true as well.
Yeah, we can't go back in time and change the name of the prequel to the modern story. But the new story could be something like, I don't know, the trained new starfighters trained by the last starfighter from the last movie.
I still like the idea of his love, joining the Kodan Armada and, going after him because he was a dirtbag or something, Like,
I didn't read the article. Is this, they're going to have Mary Catherine Stewart go to the Kodan Armada and come after him, or?
I can't imagine, but, I can hope.
A man can dream.
Because you want to see Mary Catherine Stewart in that,
thing. They've been like shopping this for a really long time, and all this article really says is development. Although that said, you could do that movie probably pretty cheap, and get away with it. So I mean, like, it doesn't have to, like, that's a story that it doesn't have to be in 2020. It doesn't have to be a $200 million blockbuster. You can do that like on a TV budget and probably deliver completely sufficient special effects if viewed in context of the original.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Battlestar Galactica, their most expensive episodes were like 12 million. So, you can make it for Battlestar Galactica money and look great. So. Although some of their episodes didn't cost 12 million, like the boxing episode.
No, that
cost like $5.
No, that was because they spent 12 million last week, so they only can spend 2 this week.
Or $1. Yeah.
Look, man, we can afford Starbucks to stand here. Whatever you write,
yeah,
say.
No. It was really funny. Like, that episode, that was also the one where Leah Dama like loses 100 pounds between the episode before and the episode of the box. And I'm like, well, what is going on here? It's like, yeah.
They have powerful diet shakes that you drink in the future.
Yeah, it's called starvation because there's not enough food on the fleet.
Which it seems like.
Okay, let's keep going. So Last Starfighter 2, there's a script that may be bouncing around. That's all that means.
Yeah, and that script has been going around for years. But here's hoping. It'd be fun. Holland released 5,000 Fleas. This one's yours, Rob.
Is this Holland, Michigan?
No.
No. No, the Netherlands.
Oh,
And
the
to be
Netherlands.
fair, they're more like aphids than like fleas, like you would imagine. But still, I mean, The Simpsons parodied it perfectly.
Yep.
When mankind's desire to, we've let this invasive species in. Why don't we put in another invasive species? And, that'll solve the problem. It's worked out so well over and over and over again in our history, right?
Right. Culminating in the, what have we had now? 6 tragedies at Jurassic Parks and worlds around the world over.
Right.
Did we talk about the hippo thing in this channel?
We've talked about
in
it.
South America. Yeah.
No. The guy who wanted to introduce hippos as a cattle species in America.
Yeah.
We've talked about this in chat.
That would have worked out great.
Yep, it's fine.
Yeah. Hippos are known for being gentle creatures. They never attack anyone in the wild.
Yeah, them and zebras, they just love people,
Crazy. So anyway, they have this invasive plant species, so their idea is to release these fleas and see if they can survive a winter, see if they can survive a Holland winter. And if they do and don't spread anywhere else, supposedly they will just release more to get rid of their invasive knotweed. But I mean, you look at Australia with cane toads and
and the bunny fences
and foxes and rabbits.
Yeah.
I mean, zebra mussels here, gobies here. It's just
zebra mussels were the invasive species. It's not clear that they've tried to introduce a new species to eat the zebra mussels, did they?
No, I'm just saying that introducing a new invasive species to get rid of an invasive species usually doesn't work out that well.
Oh, it's going to be fine.
One thing I enjoyed is there's a YouTube documentary about the zebra mussels and how people are trying to make them as food, and try to make a silk purse out of a sow's face or whatever this thing is. And I'm just like, that's a lot of work.
It's gonna be fine.
They're trying to do the same thing with gobies here.
What's a goby?
Goby is a sort of smaller type of fish, big head. They look a little bit like a mud skipper, but they eat the eggs of the naturally occurring freshwater fish here. So like in the Great Lakes, they're displacing perch, they're displacing smelt, a whole bunch of other stuff. And if you catch them, the DNR wants you to kill them. So.
Wow.
But they're also trying to come up with new ways for you to eat them so that, maybe people will try to catch more of them.
Well, I've never eaten a mud skipper. Are these just like anchovies? I mean, do you just, salt them and eat them later?
Well, these aren't mud skippers. They just look a lot like them.
No. But I don't know if they taste like them. All fish kind of taste the same to some degree, but
If you say so.
All right, you're the person who has like the fanciest eating habits of anybody I know. I don't quite buy that.
Okay, so I take back what I said. Listen, I'm actually not a big fan of halibut or catfish, and frankly, you won't catch me eating tilapia ever because it's basically a shit-eating fish that they put in the bottom of aquaculture tanks to consume the feces of other shrimp and fish. So yeah, I do have opinions about fish, but what I'm saying is, looking at this fish, it reminds me of an anchovy. It reminds me of a sardine, right? So let's just cut the head off and go to town, man. It's like, I really like those fish. So, are these tasty is my question. Can I eat it?
Can I eat it? Really,
like, this is the same thing.
I'm surprised that we got this far into this episode without you asking if you can eat it. You could have asked, can I eat James Randi? Can I eat The Last Starfighter? Can I eat Donald Trump's password?
No, that's
strangely
not
enough.
Also, I would point out I am a substantial man, but I'm not that substantial. I'm not 9,000 pounds, for God's sakes. I don't eat everything that, I'm not eating my microphone here. Come on.
Strangely enough, when I read the story way back when about how they're trying to get people to eat gobies, I wondered if there were recipes. So I searched the internet, and the only recipe I could find was for goby risotto.
Oh.
Okay.
Which sounded absolutely horrific to me.
We make salmon risotto fairly frequently around here, so I guess it's the same.
I've got some salmon in the house I was going to have for lunch. Yeah, no, I don't know. It just the thing is, bottom feeding, scavenger fish often taste terrible because they get by on the leavings of other fish. That's my opinion. So,
that's your
They
opinion,
can,
man.
sure.
it's my opinion.
But crabs taste pretty good, and all they eat is rotten things.
That's true. That's true. And filter feeders, I love oysters, man, and they're just sucking the pollutants out of the water.
Right, transferring them straight into you.
I mean, and God bless them. I love those damn little
One
things,
delicious snack. So we have a couple of things left on the list that we can talk about. I don't know if you want to talk about the Lindsay Ellis Omegaverse lawsuit, Chris, because that thing. I was explaining it to Rob just before you called in, because that previous video, the first Lindsay Ellis video on the subject, was really funny, where she basically just like goes after somebody for a flimsy copyright infringement lawsuit. But what makes it really funny is that it's about wolf sex. The Omegaverse.
So, let me break it down. There's a subgenre of erotica where it's basically people are werewolves, and they do that thing like we were joking about with Spider-Man, where, well, why doesn't he have an ovipositor? So it's an entire genre of fiction where basically all the sex is based on how actual wolves mate, which involves some fairly interesting processes. And it's alpha and omega. Right. Watch the video. Anyway, long and short of it is there's a woman in, I think, Virginia or something named Addison Kane, not a real name, who publishes under a vanity press. And she has decided that she owns all books in this Omegaverse because she's had one or two popular books in the Omegaverse in the genre. This is like if Malda said, you know what? From now on, any duck pins from any
no, dude, it's worse than that. Any blog.
Well, no, let's not talk about your actual pioneering role. Let's not talk. Like, you had a pioneering role in the creation of blogs, so you would at least have a little more of some, like, hey, at least recognize me.
She has footing too, in that she is one of the more successful authors within the genre, but she's not the initiator.
Yeah. But I mean, the idea of monster porn is hardly new.
For sure.
My goodness.
And the first video in the series does a really good job of like enumerating what it is about this genre, and then the sort of the details of the lawsuits. And it's funny. Like, it's funny. Like, they are not good at what they are doing. And it's very funny because Lindsay Ellis is a very sharp wit.
Very sharp,
and it's a well-produced,
and she got like all these great YouTubers like the Legal Eagle and Jenny what's her name to do voices for all the parts, and I was like, oh, this is so much fun. This is like a play, right? And so but usually I'm actually not super into internet beefs and internet drama, but this one was just, you had the DMCA, you had DMCA takebacks,
well,
you had
the last one
DMCA
ended
counterclaims, you had
last one ended with her
DMCA.
talking about the EFF and how they're getting involved to help defend what is essentially a crap copyright complaint. But the follow-up video, which I'm only a third of the way through.
I'm only 37 minutes into it.
Yeah, that's what I was watching when Rob connected to the chat today. But they, unsurprisingly, Addison Kane has now gone after Lindsay Ellis, and she is literally just laying it all out there. Goodbye, Chris. Anyway, you're back. I'm looking forward tremendously to seeing the rest of this video, and I just enjoy this tremendously, and it is really worth your time. But at this point now, it's a 2-hour commitment because it's a lot of material.
Right? I mean, it's a commitment.
So I have a couple of things left that we can try to talk about. Yeah, there you go. There she is. She's wearing a weird. Oh, and she's got the Barbara Streisand portrait next to her, which I mean, that's great. She
hasn't mentioned the Streisand effect yet,
yeah,
but that's obviously what's going on here. Oh, she did.
Yeah,
okay.
you missed it because it was like I've seen it, and it was she does a whole bit where she's holding the photo. It's only if there was some kind of effect or thing that you could call this. As she looks at the photo.
But she's not going to go in for 10 minutes on the whole story.
No.
So,
Anyway, it's a funny video, and in general, I find Lindsay Ellis to be among the better people. I actually am a Patreon supporter of her.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. That's great.
Now we have two pieces of media that I had sort of on my bucket list to talk about today. We can
What's
talk
that?
about Borat, or we can talk about Star Trek.
Oh, what is there a Borat Star Trek crossover
There
story?
could be.
Let's do Star Trek first.
He's nice.
Let's do
Just
Star
to get
Trek
it out of
first.
the way.
All right, Star Trek season 3, episode 2. Now we get to see what happened to the rest of the crew. The whole.
So you've seen it? It's out?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, you didn't watch it. Rob and I both did. So.
I didn't watch it. No, you're not spoiling anything for me. Go ahead.
Well,
You're right.
There's not a lot to spoil except that this is the second half. This is what happened to the crew. The whole first episode was where Michael landed. And the whole second episode is where the rest of the crew ended. And I mean, it wasn't as good of an episode, but it wasn't bad. I didn't hate it.
Was it still the Andromeda?
You know what made me mad? And I keep harping on this, but there is so much in this episode of crew members yelling at each other. And I've decided that's my problem. That's my problem now with Star Trek. Stop yelling at each other. You're on the same team.
Rob just wants harmony on the ship.
Why can't we just all get along? I mean, come on. It's true. I mean, you would see yelling between starships.
Sure.
Him yelling at Khan, or the line must be drawn. Yeah. But which was between him and not his crew member, technically. Yeah.
They're just trying to do a new thing with Star Trek. They're trying to make it hipper. And I'm not sure they are successful in that, to be honest with you. I kind of like the first season of Discovery.
Me too. Absolutely.
And then it kind of got more and more ridiculous to the point where I didn't care about it at all. And now this season starts, and I liked this episode better than the first one. The first one has some hokey stuff in it for me. I won't spoil it, but the end of the first episode is just ridiculous to me.
The first episode of the season, or
yes, the first episode of the season. The end of
is
the
that
first
the one
episode.
where she puts on a old timey Moriarty costume and goes into a space bar? Oh no, that was Picard. Sorry.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah. Was there a feather on her hat?
It's even worse. There's a giant alien love lake, and that I'll just say that. I'm not kidding you.
Wait, how could I not remember this?
Because you haven't watched it, you said.
I thought it was the second episode that you're talking about.
No, I said the first episode was terrible. The second episode was
okay. So the second episode ends up in a love lake. Are they screaming at each other?
No, you're not even listening, Chris.
Oh. Yeah. Are you trying to listen? All right. The first episode ends in some crazy alien love lake.
Okay.
The second episode was better, in my opinion, than the first. But none of it is really Star Trek. They're just trying to make it sexier and have more adventure to it and make it a little bit darker and
more crew members yelling at each other.
Well, the thing about the first episode too, a lot of people were disintegrated, ending their lives forever. I'm like, dude, everyone's dying. Like, there was like 30 people whose lives were ended because they decided to mess around on the space planet with the lake and everything. I mean, like, there's a lot of dead people. It's like that's the credit ending scene at the end of Austin Powers, where they're like, hey, henchman family, the henchman's dead, and they're like, no, my father, and I'm like thinking of like all the space kids and alien kids who were like, oh, I guess my dad's dead because he was a security guard. That's fine.
They're gonna keep them in very clean cages, the cleanest cages.
So it isn't. I don't think it's as stupid as Picard.
Right. At no point did a horde of Borg bodies float into space.
Oh man.
To be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of time travel.
Yeah.
Stuff. I think they don't get it right very often at all.
For sure.
There's some amazing ones. Like I think 12 Monkeys is great.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few like that. But for the most part, for me, it's just, a way for you to rewrite the history that you've written yourself into a corner with,
Well, wait. Are you saying you didn't like Millennium?
No,
So,
not on my must-watch list.
I, on the other hand, love time travel and will watch time travel in any way, shape, or form. However, in this particular instance, all they're trying to do is escape the shadow of canon. And I kind of get that. It's kind of the same. We've talked about this before. The season 5 or 6 of Agents of Shield, where they go to the future just so that they don't accidentally have to bump into Iron Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, like, I get it, like, from a production standpoint.
This Iron Man, or
Yep,
are you
that
talking about the
Iron
Iron Man from the MCU?
is he Sherman? Was that his name?
Sherman,
Yeah.
yes.
Man, that's a whole thing.
Yeah, it sure is.
Well, I'm in for at least a few more episodes on Star Trek. I didn't
Yeah,
hate it.
yeah.
I liked the first episode better, and I think that the reason I liked the first episode better is that it spent most of the time focusing on a character who I could actually maybe try to empathize with a little. This episode has now Tig Notaro I love, and she's carrying these episodes that she's in.
Dude, Tig is amazing in Star Trek. I love her stand-up. I love how deadpan she is. I just dig that. You know, it may not be everyone's flavor, but for me, it's great. And I wondered how it would fit. I think she's great in the cast.
So I think she's great too. I also completely do not buy that character would have gone into the future. She's been like, nope, I'm out. See ya.
Yeah.
You know?
Right?
She's like, you guys are idiots. I'm done.
Too smart for this.
Yeah. So that was my only thing about Tig going to the future. I'm like, I don't know that she would do that, but honestly, I'm so glad she's there. You know, I'm looking forward to the episode just for that.
Yeah. She's more enjoyable to watch than anybody from the original cast, but I liked Pike and Number One a lot in the previous season because they are a crew of people who respect each other and don't yell at each other all the time.
Absolutely. They interact like professionals.
They know how to behave like grown-ups.
That's why they're in charge of the Enterprise and not the Shoju or whatever the hell the name of the ship is. So
I actually also liked this episode how they dealt with what's his name, Suru, who's the
captain.
No, not him. The scaredy cat alien guy, the guy who played the Shape of Water guy.
But he's not scaredy cat anymore.
That's right.
Yeah, remember he found his balls.
That's what I'm saying. And like, I enjoyed. They played with that several times in this season and showed him to be having dealt with his thing, and I kind of liked that. Like, okay, we've seen you're a different character
captain now.
Yeah.
Isn't he captain now? Yeah. Okay.
I was thinking of Captain. You were thinking about Captain Sulu from the older.
No, I said Soju. You know,
Shoji.
Yeah. It's Saru.
Saru. There we go.
Yeah, and I was making fun of Soji from Picard, just for the record.
For the record.
You know, sushi. You know, and although he's better to call sushi because he's actually a fish.
There you go. So. I liked what they did with his character, and I also kind of
I think
Tilly.
He's great. And also, Doug Jones is a gift. You know, I mean, he's a very talented guy who's willing to sit in a chair for 3 hours and have crap stapled to his forehead. So,
right. Okay. Speaking of grown-ups, Borat is out on Prime today, so that's going to probably happen for me later today. I don't know.
For sure.
I have to see if the wife is interested.
Okay, so let's talk about Borat. So the first Borat came out and everyone thought it was hilarious, and it was, right? Yep. And then it became like a cultural touch point for bros, right? Where people would start doing the Borat voice and everyone's like, oh God, you're one of those people, huh?
Right, it became the thing where Michael Scott would do a bad Borat impression because that's the thing that your lame boss would do in 2013, 2012.
Exactly. So...
But we've talked about this before. I think if you cut half of the material out of the first Borat movie, you have 30 minutes, 40 minutes of some of the funniest material ever made. I hope that this movie has 20 or 30 minutes of the funniest material ever because I like it.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I mean, usually sequels don't really offer a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
But Borat was a television character first, right? And there are many episodes of Borat that are hilarious. So I think he's got the material. I don't think it's necessarily gotten old.
I think that Sacha Baron Cohen is a freaking genius. I mean,
he's real deal.
Amazing. Yeah. And we have to talk about Rudy Giuliani.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for this one, and I love Borat's response to the Giuliani thing that they released. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh my god. Yeah, he was just tucking in his shirt. It's fine.
Yeah, I'll have to find it later, but
don't get us copyright struck. Anywho, that was the last thing on my list. Is there anything anything good happening this weekend that doesn't involve every single person on Twitter bitching about the election for the next 2 weeks?
Oh my gosh, we have 11 days of pain to go. I voted like a week and a half ago. I'm doing fine.
You know what was weird? Kat and I filled out our ballots like a week ago, and then just put them in the outgoing mail pile and planned to drop them off at the ballot box and not do the mail. And Kathleen comes home a few days ago and she says, "Oh, you voted." And it's like that's a weird. Like she drove past the ballot box and she threw both of ours in. It's just cool. Like, "Oh, you voted. Oh, good." But that's just a weird. It feels weirdly different to me. To be told that.
So Kathleen stole your vote, is what
probably.
You're saying.
We dropped ours in the ballot box yesterday too. Drove down to the township during lunch break, and put them in the box.
In the box.
It's weird, man. I mean, I actually, honestly, truly like the thing where you go and I never put on the sticker because I hate stickers. Rob, you know this about me. I hate stickers.
Oh, I do.
They leave residue, Mr. Maldo. They leave residue,
and I hate residue.
Rob does not do well with sticky.
Which is weird because when I make pens, I get super glue all over my fingers, and I hate it.
I was going to ask you about that because you use a lot of CA, right? And
dude, I go through gallons of CA.
I mean, it must be like you must be high from that stuff all the time in that little basement of yours.
I have
right?
good ventilation.
Oh, okay, good. Glad to hear it. But yeah, you must use a ton of that stuff, right?
Yeah, I go through. I get 2 or 3 different viscosities: thin, medium, and thick. And I go through like these 4 to 6 ounce bottles every few weeks. So yeah, I hate sticky things, but I love voting. I like getting in line with a bunch of people who are like septuagenarians, and like seeing the old people in line because the only people who vote around here historically are people who are 20 years older than me. And like the machines and the big giant envelopes, and I like that. I don't know, it feels like democracy, but I don't know. You've heard me say this before. I think something really bad's gonna happen on November 4, and I'm scared.
Can't say I'm a fan of waiting in line and having to do all that nonsense.
I've been voting by mail for, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years now. At least as long as I've been at Google. I love voting by mail. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I voted by mail.
And in California, our ballots are thick as hell. So yeah,
I voted
you don't
by
have
mail,
a choice. Otherwise, you're going to be in that damn booth for like an hour.
I voted in the last presidential election remotely, but that was because I spent the night of the election actually in the Washington Post newsroom. So I was out of state. Which, by the way, if you're gonna be watching an election, the Washington Post newsroom is a really cool place to be for the election. Like that's a lot of people buzzing.
I bet, particularly for the last election.
Oh yeah, well yeah. This was I wasn't there for.
What year was it?
I was there in 2012, the Obama 2 election.
Right.
I would have liked to have been there for the Trump one, but I had Kat and I moved because we didn't want to be in Washington D.C.
Yeah, you got out when the getting was good. I wonder what happened to the real estate market after Trump won, because I know people had bought houses thinking Hillary would win, and they were going to go work for the administration.
Oh wow!
Like that's how far they went. They were so sure she was going to win, and they were like getting apartments and all the rest, and then.
Well, Nate Silver has Biden at like 82% right now. So on November 4. I think something weird's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think our October surprise is gonna be a November surprise this year.
So
I think the October surprise was down Rudy Giuliani's pants.
I was gonna say, do you think Rudy was reaching for his ballot? Is that what he was doing?
Yeah, he was ballot stuffing.
I was just sucking in my shirt. I was tucking in my
I
shirt.
know he said he was tucking his shirt, and that's how I always tuck in my shirt. I
Totally
lay
horizontal.
completely flat on a bed, and
prevents wrinkling.
So I know that Rob has done some TV and has done some speeches, but like there has never been a minute where I hopped on a bed around a reporter and started rooting around in there for a microphone or to tuck my shirt in. Literally has never happened. And I'm not Rudy Giuliani. I haven't spoken to a million people and all the rest, but I've been on TV enough. It's like, the microphone, like I can unhook that sucker and pull it out without having to untuck my shirt. This is not rocket science, So, and I'm a big person, so it's like I have belt and things, But yeah.
Are you saying that drunk Rudy Giuliani might have been taken advantage of in some way?
No. I'm saying that Rudy knew exactly what he was doing when he was hopping on the bed next to the cute blonde gal.
I look forward to seeing the scene in context because
I want to see the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think he was doing a little prep work. Actually, I think it's the Atlantic. There's some magazine now that does a breakdown of the scene. They've watched it and they've broken down to how many shots it is and how one part of the scene that happens later that you can tell it actually was shot earlier, and they just added it at the end because it was a different angle of the same thing. And what audio is happening, and if you can see the faces, so you can for sure say that this was the audio at the time. I mean, they do a really good job of breaking it down. And it's interesting to read.
Was Rudy inappropriate?
The breakdown was he was absolutely inappropriate. But there was there is some question about whether or not he was actually either masturbating or about to pull his junk out. But he was being inappropriate and flirty and overtly sexual with this woman before these things happen. So that was their breakdown.
Monday's going to be a good conversation. We should carefully and judiciously sprinkle our commentary into general for Ambaloo and Cliff.
Yeah.
All right. Let's say goodbye and go do important things with our day.
Okay.
Goodbye, Rob Roseboom.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Chris Cabona.
So ordered.
I am Rob Commander Taco Malda. This has been episode 535 of Geeks in Space. We'll see you Monday, where I guess we're going to talk about Rudy Giuliani.